not exactly a marketing person. That's me.
I mean, is that
Hello?
wrong? Good to have you.
Great, thank you.
Is that a wrong description? Would you consider yourself a marketing person?
I'd say 35 years into this Metallica experience, we've learned to go along with every description that we hear. So whatever people, drummer, musician, songwriter, album co-producer, marketing person, not a marketing person, Dane, friend of the Germans, happy to be here, all that stuff. We go along with all of it.
Okay, but I mean, usually I have made the experience that many artists, and I mean, you're no doubt an artist, are very touchy when it gets to marketing, and they would not like to be perceived as a marketing person.
Well, I think that, and we've always been very both open and comfortable with this. I mean, obviously, we're primarily creative people and musicians, and that's our environment, and that's what fuels us. But at the same time, you can't be in a band like Metallica without having an understanding of the parallel universe, which is that in order to reach people in Germany with records or, with live appearances or whatever, that there's a whole other element, there's a whole other beast that has to be tended to. And I think you have two choices, which is either you let other people control every element of that and run with it, or you try to sort of have that part of it being an extension of who you are as a person. And we've always in Metallica been very comfortable with sort of overseeing that. I'm the guy in Metallica that oversees most of it. And I think that it's the way for the fans and the people at the receiving end of what we do to know that what they get really is Metallica and not just some product that a bunch of business people have sort of stamped the word Metallica on.
When you first started Metallica, early 80s, right?
1981, yes.
There was, I mean, I remember there's 4 bands in that genre, Slayer, Megadeth, you guys, who did I forget? Anthrax?
Anthrax, yeah.
They're all like somewhere, but not on the world stage anymore. Like you are still standing as one of the most powerful brands in music, in rock music certainly. What did you do differently?
Well, I don't want to sell anybody down the river here. I mean, obviously all these bands are friends of ours, peers of ours, and I have a tremendous amount of respect and love for each one of those bands. But I guess we've always felt in Metallica that we were autonomous and that we were in our own world and that we were never really, that we were misfits and that we never felt like we were part of a scene. So we've really only ever sort of charted our own course, as they say. And so we just are fiercely independent. And it's a way of, it's an approach to everything that we do, which is that we don't try to latch on to another way of doing things or piggybacking on particular trends or fashions or business styles or whatever, but we just do what is right for Metallica in our own universe. And we've made, I guess, some decisions along the way, both creatively and practically, that have put us on a different course. So it's not my place. I'm not a journalist, and it's not my place to sit and talk about why we're in a particular place and other people are not. I feel uncomfortable with that.
I mean, obviously, creatively, it's very hard to explain what makes you so outstanding and so different. But you just mentioned practically over the years. What were the most important decisions practically for Metallica?
Well, like I said, that the battle cry, the MO was always independence and just do our own thing and never feel that we had to serve anybody else, that we had to cater to anybody else's needs, any particular trends, any moments that were going on in business or in fashion or any kind of things that were, part of particular trends or waves. So, musically, we played harder music, but we've never particularly felt that we were part of a scene. We always felt that we sort of, when Ride the Lightning came out, our second album in 1984, there was an acoustic guitar on the song Fade to Black. And people started freaking out. Oh my God, what are they doing? But to us, it was just the next natural place to go musically. So we've always let the creative energy and the creative flow dictate what we were doing. And then, like we say, the practical, the business, all that stuff kind of is a second parallel course that follows it. It's almost, to me, the analogy I give in interviews is that there's a train and we're doing our best to sort of steer the train, but at the same time, you can't just force the train to go. Sometimes you end up actually holding on as the train is moving forward rather than forcing the train to a particular place. That's kind of how we look at all this type of stuff. So sometimes you got to hold on, sometimes you got to steer, and the thing is to know when to do what at which time.
When we talked earlier about your tour that's coming up in Germany, I suspected that you plan and pinpoint the cities that you play at based on population, based on
on metrics and based on Instagram followers and
exactly metrics, some kind of marketing strategy. Where do we play? Where can we?
And what did we base it on?
Yeah, I mean that's I was surprised when you told me. You tell the people, what did you base it on?
Well,
you're playing in Mannheim, of all places.
Well, we were talking backstage before, and why are we playing in Hamburg, and why are we playing in Mannheim, and why are we playing 2 shows in Stuttgart or whatever? We're playing, I don't know if anybody's seen the show, we played in Cologne a few months ago, but we're playing basically we have almost 200,000 pounds of lighting and video screens, and we play in the middle of the arena, which is what we love to do when we play indoors, and so it's primarily based around buildings in Germany or all over Europe that can support 200,000 pounds worth of gear and production. So there you go. Instagram followers and metrics and all the rest of it is unfortunately second to who's got the strongest roof. So there you go. Now the secret's out.
Okay. Do you think? I mean, let's start from the beginning. The band name is perfect for what you do. I mean, you're called Metallica. Was it a genius decision?
I would call it it was quite an impulsive decision. This was even before the band was formed. I may have just be getting to know James Hetfield at the time, but I was visiting some friends in San Francisco, and a friend of mine, Ron Quintana, God bless him, we were talking over a beer in the backyard at a party. He said he had a little magazine, a little fanzine that he wanted to put out, and he asked me whether I thought Metal Mania or Metallica was the better name for his fanzine. So I said he should call his fanzine Metal Mania. And then
and you took Metallica.
I held on to the other, so there you go.
I mean, it definitely supported your rise quite a bit, do you think? Or is that a wrong perception?
I guess I've never really thought about that. We just thought that there was something iconic about the way it sounded. I don't know if we had been called, OMZ, or if we'd been called, something else. If we were Philip. Here's this band from San Francisco called Philip. Whether I would be sitting here in this chair today, I have no idea. But it was the decision that was made quite impulsively. And if I told you a couple of the second option names, you should be happy that we went with Metallica, trust me.
Okay. Over the years, you were quite focused on digital topics. I mean, you follow the path of digitization and how the world changes to more and more digital. You sued Napster famously. And now, how do you see the digital world? I mean, you work cooperating with Spotify or that. Is that something that you do personally, that you care about very?
Well, yeah. I mean, we obviously follow. Living in San Francisco, it's hard to not be sort of enveloped in all of this. Obviously, San Francisco is where the future is being written to a degree, and it's a very small town. So you have a tendency, like I said, to get sort of sucked into all that. So there's some great, rock stars in San Francisco, and I think actually this generation's rock stars are all the tech giants and all these great people in San Francisco. So I've always been fascinated with all the leading edges of technology and where it's all going, and ways to communicate, ways to connect Metallica to the fans and connect the fans to Metallica and also connect the fans to each other. So we're looking at all of this, very, very optimistically, with deep intent, and it's exciting to sort of see where it's going, and we're always trying. Our team in San Francisco gets bigger and bigger. Our digital team, we have our own building that we call HQ, very inventive name, and so we have about 25 people in that building that do our digital, all our social media. We do our own fan club. We do our own merchandise. We do, we have the studio and the rehearsal on one side. So we have a creative part of the building, and then the sort of the practical part of the building. And we have a great digital team, and I think we have 4 people that work on that. Just 2 people that travel with us on the road. And every day when we're playing concerts, we're doing updates and video clips and really trying to engage a worldwide audience as much as possible. And it's really exciting. And to me, increasingly the main word, when I think of all of this, it's about, the word I use is connecting. We want to connect, the fans to Metallica. We want to connect to the fans, and like I said before, we also want the fans to connect to each other. So all these digital tools help make that experience, more intimate and obviously also more instant. And I think it's a really exciting time to be in a band and communicate with the world.
Has it gotten easier? Or is it better? I mean, would you like be like 25 again and like build a band today?
I don't look at it so much. Is whether it's easier or harder. Anytime I come to questions that either have a vertical answer or a horizontal answer, I always look at the horizontal. So to me, it's different. It's not better or worse than it was. And so it's 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when we came to Germany, nobody knew what was on the set list. Nobody knew what guitar Kirk Hammett was playing in Copenhagen. There was no pictures from our tour in Japan. Now we make all our concerts available within 48 hours, available for download and for CD purchase all over the world. And it's a great thing, but we didn't do that 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, there was maybe more of a mystique, more of a mystery. There was a different kind of aesthetic at play. Now, everything's out there. We play the first show of the tour, and everybody all over the world knows what the set list is. When we play in Hamburg next Thursday, at 2 minutes after the concert's over, everybody all over the world will know what the set list is. They'll see pictures, they'll see videos, and that's fine. So that's the 2018 version of that. And whatever the aesthetic that's going on around us, we just try to maximize the experience for the fans and for the band members themselves. And so I think it's an exciting time, like I said now, but you can't fight it. And you have to not only accept it, but I think embrace it and try to make it your own to the best of your ability.
Are you friends with any of the digital rock stars in Silicon Valley? Do you talk to some of them? Do you talk to Elon Musk, or do you talk to, I don't know, Jack Dorsey? I mean, they all know who you are. Do you connect with them?
Yes. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and name drop, but yes, I know Jack Dorsey, I know Mark Benioff, I know Drew Houston, I know Sean Parker, I know all of them, yes. And like I said, San Francisco it's a very small town, really small. And if you go to a party or out to an engagement or something like that, it's a lot of the same people that you see everywhere. And we all, Metallica has been flying the flag proudly for San Francisco all over the world for 35 plus years. And obviously a lot of these digital entrepreneurs are flying the flag for San Francisco. And so we feel very comfortable and at home in that energy. And it's a really, like I said, it's a very exciting time.
Quick test.
Test? Uh-oh. Do I get a lifeline, or do I get any help from anybody? Okay.
Do you know the demographics of your fans? Yeah. What's your average fan like? Do you know that? Do you care?
we are getting more and more into that, and we study more of it. I mean, I know how many Instagram followers, I know how many Twitter followers we have, I know our Facebook people, and you know, I know, you know, I sort of sit and look at, you know, how many Instagram people like, you know, hit like versus, you know, all this stuff, and you know, I don't have it memorized, but I mean, we have 4 million Instagram followers and 5 million Twitter followers and so on. Not that I overly care about it, but yeah, I mean, I keep enough of an eye on this stuff to sort of be able to have a conversation in front of a couple of thousand people in Hamburg if I have to, or with the team or our people back in San Francisco. But it's not something that I'd say 20 years ago or 30 years ago, the version, you know, what record sales were, or what other bands were doing on who was touring, and, you know, where's Guns N' Roses this week or whatever. I was a little more on top of all of it. Now I'm a father of 3 kids, and, you know, I have other things that occupy me, but I certainly know enough about the particular businesses and the numbers of Metallica to have a diligent conversation with anybody about it, yeah.
Can you describe a little bit the process before you launch a new album? Is there like, you think about where to launch it, who to partner with? You probably get approached a lot by platforms.
Sure. I mean, I think the key thing is that, you know, we put a record out a year and a half ago in the fall of 2016, and this was the first record we've put out really since what I would call the demise of the music business or the music world as we know it. So, you know, to me, and to everybody on our team, it's very much the Wild West. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. There's only the way that works for you and what you think is the right way to navigate through all this stuff. 10 years ago or 20 years ago, when you put a record out in the music business, it was very specific. You do this, then you do this, then you do this, and then this is gonna happen. Do you know what I mean? Now it's fucking totally crazy, and nobody really knows. But what we wanted to do, and again, what we always try to do, is how do we Metallica-size, how do we make something as much of our own thing? How do we put the Metallica imprint on it? How do we find the right balances? And you know, to be honest with you, the whole campaign for the record a year and a half ago, what I loved about it was that there was a creative energy, a creative kind of undertow to it that was kind of cool, because we were making it up as we went along, and I love that kind of thing, rather than, like I said, where 20 years ago it was just everything was embedded in stone about how you were supposed to do it. So, you know, for instance, we were in Germany as part of the promotion part in Germany, and we had a campaign called the Four Horsemen, where the 4 members of Metallica were in 4 different German cities, and we each had, you know, I think we had partners at Facebook, and we did different things with, you know, communicating and doing Q&As with the fans all over Germany. But it was really putting 4 members of Metallica in 4 different physical places in Germany, but at the same time doing an all-German campaign. And some of that stuff was really fun and really, I think, sort of satisfying when you feel that you're doing new things that not only we haven't done before, but nobody else in rock has done before. So, you know, we premiered the first track of the new cycle of the new album on our own website, which is the first time we did that. We premiered it without any warning. I was doing an interview with a radio station in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he was asking me about the new record, and I said, do you want to hear one of the new songs? And we literally played it on the radio without the DJ knowing that it was coming. And 2 days later, we filmed the video for the track in the high school gymnasium next to Metallica's HQ, and we premiered it on our own website, which is the first time we've ever done that, within 24 hours. So I love the energy of these instant grad things and throwing stuff out there, and the feedback that comes from people when they don't know that it's coming, how they get sort of caught off guard, and you really hear their impulsive and momentary reactions to something. So that was a great start to the campaign. And we did a lot of what in our world is called underplays, small. We played a very small show in New York City. We played a small show in London on the day the album came out, in-store appearances in London. Lots of partnering with YouTube and doing different events. And so it's, we're trying to, again, just try to get as many different things with as many partners as possible, but make them as, sort of put the Metallica imprint on them as much as possible.
This past summer, I saw the Rolling Stones here in Hamburg. It's amazing. I mean, they are like old men, right? I mean, but they're like doing like amazing stuff still. Is that like, do you see that and then as well? And is that a vision that you think, okay, well?
Well, when I think of the Rolling Stones, the first two words that come to mind is not old men. It's more holy fuck. They're still doing it. They're out there in their 70s, and Mick Jagger is running a marathon on stage. And when I look at Mick Jagger, I go, that's what I want to do when I'm 72 years old or whatever. And I am going to be fucking doing it too. And so to me, it's very inspiring to see bands like the Rolling Stones, see an artist like Neil Young, see Paul McCartney out there playing 2.5 hour sets. So as far as Metallica is concerned, if our shoulders and our necks and our knees, and if all that holds up, we'll be fine. We're just getting started. And so 20 years, I mean, there's certainly no shortage of creative energy. There's no shortage of desire, and there's no shortage of kind of feeling alive and wanting to connect with people. It's only the physical part, and so if the bodies can last another 20 or 30 years, no problem.
Guys at the bar, questions? Yeah.